Hello everyone, now that you're staring out the bus windshield as steam curls from your travel mug, the weak sun barely making it over the rooftops. The engine hums beneath your feet, steady as ever, and the neighborhood still clings to sleep. You're a school bus driver. That's what people see, no combat boots, no medals, no salutes. Just a guy with graying hair, clean uniform, and a clipboard tucked under one arm. You're early, like always. Your route is familiar: turn past the corner deli, wait at Elm and Fifth, wave at old Mr. Hastings who always seems to be watering his lawn in pajamas. Everything about this morning screams routine. But here's your reality check: you probably won't survive this video without pausing at least once to rethink how you treat the quiet people around you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Type it below. Now, relax, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get into today's story. You shift in your seat and reach for your thermos. As you pull up your sleeve to check your watch, a glint of ink shows above your wrist. It's just a habit now. That ink, faded and smudged from years of wear, doesn't mean much to the teenagers you drive. They call you Mr. Ray, short for Raymond, and sometimes Coach Bus if they're feeling cheeky. They don't ask about the tattoo. It's just there. Just part of you. Except it isn't. It's a simple grid of numbers and letters, but if you were trained to read them, they'd scream. They'd whisper coordinates, a blood type, and a unit code burned into memory under an Afghanistan sun. Most days, it's like the world forgot that part of you. Most days, that's just fine. Then, that Tuesday morning happens. The base convoy is already on the move, 10 vehicles strong, rolling west for scheduled training. You hear them before you see them, low diesel grumbles growing louder from the eastern street. That convoy's early. You're ahead of schedule too. Which means you'll both meet at the four-way stop near Roosevelt High. The lead Humvee halts as you arrive. You nod casually to the driver. Ready to wave him on. A corporal steps out instead. Young. Couldn't be older than 20. Broad-shouldered, close-cropped hair, clearly new to command. He walks, not runs, not jogs, just walks over to your window with a strange kind of focus. You lower the window. Morning, soldier. But he doesn't answer right away. His eyes are locked on your left forearm. Not the uniform. Not your name badge. The ink. Is that Charlie Echo 27? Your hand freezes over the gear stick. You glance down, your voice is dry. Yeah. Was. The young man doesn't blink. You were medevac? Yep. He swallows. I heard about you. My uncle was in Echo Company. Fall 2004. His voice cracks. Just slightly. You say nothing. There's no use rushing this moment. He straightens, steps back, and nods to the convoy. And then it happens. The entire line of military vehicles stops. One by one, soldiers disembark. No words. No orders over radios. Just quiet, steady movement. The way soldiers do when something sacred is unfolding. You watch it like it's not real. 15 men and women standing in formation beside the road. Helmets off. No salute yet, just heads turned toward your bus. And it isn't about rank anymore. It's not about age, or duty status, or how many years you've been out. It's about that tattoo. You shift in your seat and think of the sand. The heat. The sound of rotor blades overhead. The flash of a flare. That one boy screaming for his mother while holding his buddy's shattered hand. You hadn't thought about it in years. Or maybe you had, every night. One soldier, an older sergeant, black, deep-voiced, salt in his beard, breaks formation and walks toward your door. You recognize his stride before his face. Raymond Keith Mathis. You nod. Yes, Sergeant. You drove the med unit that pulled out 7 of ours at Checkpoint Viper. You saved my damn legs. He smiles. You feel your throat tighten. His name floods back like a sudden gust through a cracked window. Roddle Carter. You breathe. Hot wire. You were on fire. Literally. He laughs. Had to retire the boots after that. They melted. You both fall silent. From inside the bus, the high school kids peek over seats, pressing faces against foggy windows, unsure if this is a movie or a mistake, but to you, it's neither. It's memory, made real again. The sergeant nods to the corporal, then to his squad. One by one, soldiers come forward, not to shake your hand, but to touch your arm. Not a ceremony. Just connection, like brushing fingers over a battlefield. It's not loud. It's not scripted. It's not for cameras, and when it's done, the convoy rolls forward. Slowly. Respectfully. With one more glance back from the lead vehicle, you don't cry, not until the engine turns back over and you can pull away from the curb. You think, maybe you're not just a bus driver. You in a war. You hesitate. It's not a question you've ever really answered before, at least not to them. You nod once and say, a while ago. It was my job. A pause. Then a quiet, cool, before he sits back. But now, eyes stay fixed on you. Kids start whispering among themselves, but not in the snickering way. In the reverent, confused kind of way where a line has shifted, and they aren't sure where to stand anymore. You drop them off and pull into the depot. The clipboard feels heavier than usual in your hands. You sit in the empty bus for a while longer than you should, sipping lukewarm coffee, staring at the steering wheel like it might offer answers. But what keeps floating back is the way those soldiers looked at you, not like you were a relic. But like you were part of their own memory somehow. Like they'd been taught about you, or maybe warned, or maybe blessed, and the convoy. The way it just stopped. Word spreads fast. By lunchtime, the depot manager swings by your locker, one brow raised, holding her phone. Ray, something happened this morning. You brace for it. Maybe the convoy disrupted traffic. Maybe you're about to get a formal warning for causing a delay. But instead, she tilts the phone toward you, a video. Blurry, low-res, but unmistakable, you. In the bus. The convoy stopped. The soldiers. One by one, touching your arm, over 20,000 views, your chest tightens. They're calling it the tattoo that froze the road. She says. Someone in town uploaded it. Of course they did. You murmur something about the internet being too fast for its own good, and she laughs. Ray, you're a freaking legend right now. You wave it off, but deep down, a knot forms. Not fear. Not quite pride. More like unease. Like someone cracked open a vault inside you, and everything's loose again. Later that week, something else happens. You're driving the afternoon shift, picking up middle schoolers this time, when traffic slows again. Not because of military vehicles. Because people are standing on the sidewalk with flags. Small ones. Paper ones. Just holding them. They don't cheer, they just wave at you, and it's not Veterans Day, one of the flags has your name on it. Handwritten. Thank you, Mr. Ray. You keep both hands on the wheel, eyes forward. But your heart is somewhere else now, retracing tire tracks back to Kandahar, to Humvee wheels screaming through narrow valleys, to a screaming voice in your earpiece, "We've got 5 wounded, we're not gonna make it." It's like your body's back in the present, but your memory's on a loop, and every now and then, you reach up and rub your wrist. That place where the tattoo starts. It used to feel like camouflage. Now it feels like a flare. A few days after the convoy, something shifts even further. You get called into the local VFW hall, not invited. Called. Like it's a summons. Commander Riley is waiting. He's the same guy who limps through the grocery store every Friday and always insists on exact change. "You made some noise," he says as you step in. You nod. "Didn't mean to." He grins. That's the funny thing about men like you. You spend a lifetime avoiding attention, and then one little piece of ink ruins it all. He gestures for you to sit. Then places something in front of you. A photo. Grainy, probably scanned from a Polaroid. It's your old unit. Echo Company. Piled together beside an armored medevac. You're there, younger, sharper eyes, arms slung over 2 guys who didn't make it home. You swallow. "Where did you get this?" You ask. He taps the corner. "Roddle Carter's cousin works here now. He sent it in. Said it was time we remembered." Remembered what? He looks at you like you should already know, that some heroes never got a homecoming because they never left. You made it back, Ray. But you left pieces of yourself out there. And we've been ignoring that. You look down again at the photo. There's that laugh you used to do. That busted shoulder you dislocated just the day before. That guy next to you, wasn't his name Vasquez? The medic who used chewing gum to patch a gas line. You laugh. You remember. Riley leans forward. "We want to do something. Nothing big. Just community acknowledgement. That convoy, you gave them something. A story, a reminder. They didn't expect that from a school bus driver." You nod. You don't say no. You don't say yes. Instead, you just say, "I didn't expect it either." And that's the truth, because all you wanted was to do your job, retire quietly, keep your head down. But that tattoo, that ink you thought was forgotten, is speaking again, and this time, the whole town is listening. A week after the VFW meeting, the mayor's office calls. Not a big production, just a local ceremony planned at the Civic Center. A school choir. A short speech. You're to be honored for extraordinary service in uniform and unshakable humility out of it. You don't want it. That's the first thing you feel. A spike of something primal, discomfort, exposure, like your bones are trying to fold inward. It's not the attention, exactly. It's what the attention means. To them, it's heroism. To you, it's names carved into your memory you can never speak out loud without choking. Still, you agree. Because the choir's from your school. Because they asked nicely. Because you know that saying no won't undo what's been put in motion. You've lived long enough to recognize a wave, and when it's already cresting, you don't stand in front of it. The ceremony is modest. Folding chairs, streamers, a podium that wobbles. You wear your old dress blues, dusted off from the back of your closet. They're a little snug around the middle. Life as a bus driver doesn't exactly burn the same calories as a combat zone, but the pins still shine, and the tattoo. You keep that uncovered. It's there, right on your forearm, like a signature from a past you never gave permission to follow you this far. The gym fills with students, staff, a few active duty members in uniform who heard what happened and drove in from the base an hour away. And then someone brings out a flag, not just a flag, your flag, the one that was over your camp in Helmand, one night before the shelling started. Someone must have pulled strings, made calls, searched military archives. You thought it was lost in the rubble. But here it is. Tattered, scorched at the edges, stitched back together. Like it survived just to see you again, the principal hands it to you with quiet words. They found it with a logistics group. Said it still had your name marker attached. We thought it should come home. Your eyes don't water. Not in the moment. But you feel something punch through your chest, a wave of silence louder than gunfire, the kind only memory can carry. The applause is background noise. You barely register it. Later that night, you sit alone on your porch. The flag rests across your lap, and you stare at it, wondering how it ended up in this town, in this life, so far from the cracked desert where it once flapped above a compound surrounded by dust and ghosts. Your neighbor, Alan, a Korean War vet, walks up the drive with 2 beers. I saw the live stream, he says, handing one over. Damn fine moment. You grunt. Felt like someone else's moment. Alan leans on the railing. They're never just yours. That's the thing. When we serve, we carry it, but the weight spreads. Towns, families, folks who'll never wear a uniform still feel it. This? It's their way of giving it back. You sip in silence for a while. The beer's warm, but you don't care. Then Alan says, you ever tell anyone what it meant? You raise an eyebrow. What meant? The tattoo. You pause. No, he waits, so you tell him. You explain that back in '04, a kid named Leo Martinez was in your unit. He used to draw, always sketching in a spiral notebook between patrols. He had this one symbol he kept drawing over and over, a hawk wrapped in barbed wire, wings tattered but still stretched wide, means resilience, he used to say, you tell Alan. Even when it hurts, still fly. When Leo was hit by an IED, that notebook was the only thing not burned. You took 1 page. Later, inked it into your arm. Quiet tribute. Nothing official. You look down at the tattoo now. Still sharp. Still defiant. He never made it to 20, you whisper. Alan nods slowly. Well. You're still flying. He'd be proud. The next morning. Something changes again, this time it's on the bus. A kid, maybe 10 years old, climbs the steps with his hand already raised. Not to high-five you. Not to show off a new game on his tablet. No. This one's different. He pulls his sleeve up, revealing a fresh marker drawing on his forearm. It's a crooked copy of your tattoo. Best as a kid could do, I drew it for art class, he says shyly. My mom said you're a real soldier. You chuckle softly. Was. Long time ago. He nods solemnly. But you still protect us now. On the bus. The sentence knocks the wind out of you. You don't even know what to say. He walks to his seat, humming to himself, like he hadn't just said something worthy of a stone monument. At the depot that evening, another driver stops you. You're Ray, right? The tattoo guy. You raise an eyebrow. Suppose I am. She grins. You know your route's now called the honor line. You laugh out loud. Can't help it. That's absurd. But you don't stop smiling. Back home, your voicemail is full. Reporters. Veterans groups. A podcast host who wants to do a full episode on the story. You delete most of them. But you save one. A woman's voice, older, trembling, my son was in your unit. Leo Martinez. I heard what you did. Thank you. For not letting him vanish. You sit in the dark after that. No TV. No music. Just the sound of your own breath. That tattoo, once a quiet, private symbol, is now a beacon. A light that found its way home through convoy breaks, childhood drawings, folding chair ceremonies, and one mother's trembling voice, and somehow, it all started on a bus. On a route so familiar, you could drive it with your eyes closed, but you don't anymore, because now you see everything. You thought it would fade. You really did. You figured, give it a week or two, and the world would move on. That convoy, that flag, that drawing on a kid's arm, it would all drift back into the fog of yesterday, like most stories do, but instead, the story spreads. It's not viral in the internet way. It's slower. Like honey dripping instead of water splashing. People whisper it over fences, mention it during Sunday potlucks, retell it at VA meetings. It moves by word of mouth, stronger than hashtags, more sacred than headlines. One morning, 2 Marines show up at the bus lot. Not kids, older men. One's got a limp, the other has that posture you never unlearn, even after 30 years out. You ray. You nod, they both raise their sleeves in unison, 2 hawk tattoos. Different styles, different sizes, but unmistakably the same symbol. We served with Leo's cousin, one of them says. He told us the story years ago. We never forgot. The other one steps forward. We heard what happened. We wanted to say. You kept something alive. Something most folks don't even know they've lost. You don't speak for a moment. You just extend your arm. 3 forearms meet in the middle, skin against skin, ink against ink. No salute. Just that unspoken warrior bond that never dies. Later, you meet with a few drivers from other routes. They're not veterans, most of them. But they want to ask questions. Good ones. Honest ones. Like, what do I do when a kid's afraid of uniformed officers? Or how do I talk to the kid whose dad never came home? You don't have all the answers. But you start talking, you tell stories, like the one about Christmas Eve in Kandahar, when a mail drop landed late and you passed out candy canes from a crushed box like they were gold bricks, or the one about the Afghan boy who used to sell cigarettes through the wire fence, until one day he just didn't show up. You let the stories work. Not to glorify. Not to dramatize. But to humanize. Soon, someone suggests something bigger. How about a training module? For drivers who might work with kids from military families, or who've experienced trauma. You blink. You want me to teach? Well, they shrug, your tattoo stopped a convoy. Seems like you've got something to say. So, you build it. One late night at your kitchen table, you draft it all out. You title it Silent Seats, recognizing unspoken wounds on the bus. It covers small signs, how silence can be a scream, how acting out is often grief wearing a mask, how veterans' kids carry more than backpacks. You present it at a district meeting. Nervous? Hell yes. You're a soldier, not a speaker. But then someone nods. Then another. And then, someone stands up and says, my brother came back different. I wish someone like you had been on his school bus. Word spreads again, now you're not just a driver. You're a bridge. Soon, you're invited to a middle school assembly to speak. Not as a veteran. But as a guardian of daily roads. The ones lined with pine trees and faded sidewalks. The ones that feel safe, because someone like you is behind the wheel. You start telling a story, one of the same ones, maybe about Leo or the flag, and a hand goes up in the back. a girl stands. Maybe 13. She doesn't ask a question. She just says, "My uncle was in the army." He doesn't talk much. But when I told him about you, he cried. That's when it hits you, this isn't about the tattoo. Not anymore. It's about what the tattoo opened. A door. A memory. A chance for people to step forward and remember, honestly, openly, even if it hurts, you keep driving your route. The roads don't change. The stops are still the same: Pine Avenue, Ridge Lane, Old Mill Road. The same chewing gum under the seats. The same overhead squeak in the third row, but your passengers. They see you now, they wave longer when they get off. Parents nod with a little more respect. One mom leaves a note on your dashboard: "Thank you for being steady in a world that often isn't." Then one day, you find a small envelope in your mailbox. No stamp. Hand-delivered. Inside is a photograph, you, Leo, and 3 others from your old unit. Sitting on the back of a Humvee. You're holding a helmet in your lap, all grins and sweat, boots dusty, arms slung around each other. On the back, someone has written, "Still flying. Still remembered." No name. No signature. Just that. You frame it, hang it next to your front door, where the sun catches it in the morning, and each time you leave for your shift, you glance at it. A silent nod to the past, to the weight you carry, and to the truth that nothing normal ever truly is, because even on an average Tuesday, wearing a stained yellow vest and sipping cheap coffee in a driver's lounge, you are carrying more than miles, you are carrying memory. Duty. Love wrapped in silence. And sometimes, when the sun hits your forearm just right through the windshield, the hawk flares like it's alive, like it still remembers the wire, still chooses to fly. You don't remember exactly when the term hero started following you around like a misplaced name tag. People toss it at you after speeches, scribble it on community awards, even whisper it with quiet awe when introducing you at bus driver meetings, but that word, it never felt like yours. You still think of yourself the way you did that morning before everything changed, just a guy who drives a bus, keeps his tattoo to himself, and does what he's supposed to. You wake up early, pull on your jacket, check your mirrors, and roll. That's the job. Always was, still, something's different now. It's not fame, this isn't a movie, and you're not auditioning for sainthood. It's something deeper. Heavier. A shift in how people see you. And more unsettling, a shift in how you see them. One morning, there's a new kid. Marcus. 6th grade. His file says father recently deployed, behavioral concerns. You already know what that means. He boards your bus with a chip on his shoulder and silence thick as armor. Doesn't respond to your hello. Doesn't look up. He just walks to the back and stares out the window like it betrayed him. You don't push. You give him the same seat every day, 3rd row from the back, right-hand side, just like Leo used to sit. You leave it empty until he boards, like it's reserved. On the 5th day, he nods. On the 10th, he says, "Morning." On the 15th, he sits up front. By the 3rd week, he's asking you what the hawk on your arm means, so you tell him, not the clean, ribbon-wrapped version. The real one. About the men you lost. About Leo. About how some pain can be carried without sinking. And about the moment everything paused on a 2-lane highway when a convoy braked for an old tattoo. He listens. Eyes wide, knees pulled tight to his chest, then he says something you weren't ready for: "I think my dad would like you." And in that moment, you understand something you hadn't been able to name. Something bigger than military service. Bigger than buses, or training manuals, or even the hawk. Legacy, not the kind written in stone, or awarded with medals, but the kind that transfers silently, like muscle memory, from one protector to another. You're part of a line. One that includes the father Marcus misses, the teachers who let kids cry without fixing them, the veterans who show up when nobody's watching, and now, you, the guy who made a bus more than a ride, you start collecting stories. Little ones. A third grader who gives up his seat for a fifth grader whose dad just left for deployment. A teenager who stops a classmate from mocking a soldier's uniform during career week. A parent who calls to say, "My daughter said she felt safe for the first time in months," on your bus. And when someone suggests you write a book, you laugh, then you pause, maybe not a book. But something. A record. For the next person with ink on their arm and dust on their boots. For the kid with a folded flag in their closet. For the driver who just wants to know what to say when the silence gets loud. You call it the convoy didn't break for nothing, it's just a pamphlet at first. 20 pages. A few guidelines. A few true stories. A handful of drawings from kids, including one from Marcus, your bus with a hawk on the roof and flames coming out the back. You staple them all and leave copies at the driver's station. The next week, they're gone, so you print more. And when you see one crumpled in the back pocket of a driver on a different route, you smile, because you get it now, that day on the road. That wasn't the climax. It was the opening note. What matters most isn't that the convoy stopped, it's that it moved on, different, wiser, connected, like you are now. And one chilly October morning, when the leaves are falling like gold confetti, you park your bus and find a note waiting for you. Stuck to the steering wheel with a piece of chewed gum. It's written in pencil, the letters shaky and uneven, Mr. Ray. My dad said thanks. He says your hawk is badass. He's coming home soon. He wants to meet you. You fold the note slowly. Press it to your chest, then you turn the key and listen to the engine rumble awake. Just another normal day, but you know better now. No day's ever just normal. Not when you're driving through a world full of stories, full of pain stitched with pride, full of kids like Marcus and ghosts like Leo and strangers who stop for tattoos without needing a reason. Not when you remember that sometimes the deepest acts of service don't happen in deserts or jungles, they happen on the quiet back roads, between school zones and stop signs, on a yellow bus with worn seats and a driver who carries more than he lets on. So now, take a breath, let it out slowly. The road's quiet again. The dust has settled. The buses are parked, their doors folded shut for the night. And somewhere, a hawk tattoo rests under a flannel sleeve, still guarding, still watching. You've just walked through something more than a story. You've stepped inside a world many never notice, where small kindnesses bloom beside old wounds, and quiet warriors keep showing up long after their last mission ended. It's not about medals, or uniforms, or headlines, it's about showing up, every single day. It's about the way you listen when someone's voice is shaking. It's in the stillness between a veteran's silence and a child's unspoken fears. It's in that nod, that steady hand on the wheel. That moment of recognition between strangers who remember the same song from different battlefields. So tonight, let that feeling settle into your chest like warm coffee. Remember that even if no one salutes you, even if no convoy ever breaks in your honor, your steady presence might be the one thing someone remembers tomorrow when they're hurting, because that's the truth behind the uniform, the ink. The old photo fading in a dusty frame. You don't need to fight anymore to keep saving people. Sometimes, all it takes is driving the same road every morning, eyes open, heart awake, never forgetting the ones who walked before you. You carry them.